how do we go from having no role of the federal government in agriculture to having government intertwined in all aspects of farming today, from planting to harvesting to selling crops? Lawmakers need to dig to the roots of the farm policies to fully understand what these programs were intended to accomplish. When President Franklin D. Roosevelt introduced farm subsidies in the 1930s, the purpose was to be a temporary solution to deal with an emergency. According to an article written by Burton Folsom for the Freeman on April 6, 2006, that emergency was the collapsing farm incomes that afflicted the 25% of population living on farms. Today, farmers account for just 1% of the population, and most farm household incomes are well above the national average, making the original purpose of these farm subsidies irrelevant. Intended to alleviate farmer poverty, to control crop prices, and be consumer and taxpayer friendly, the primary subsidy programs today do exactly the opposite. We will begin by examining the true roots of the different types of farm subsidy programs and their effects. Then we will dig up many other problems these programs have caused. Lastly, we will find some solutions to weed out the problems caused by farm subsidies. According to www.farmewg.org, the primary subsidy system today consists of direct payments, counter-cyclical payments, marketing loans, and disaster payments. Direct payments are cash subsidies for producers of the 10 commodity crops: wheat, corn, sorghum, barley, oats, cotton, rice, soybeans, minor oilseeds, and peanuts. Established in 1996, direct payments were intended to be a way to wean farmers from old-fashioned price guarantee programs. These set payments to go to current landowner or farmer operators every year. They were usually included in land value estimate, which drove up land and prices. The second type of farm subsidy is a counter-cyclical payment, which compensates farmers for drops in market prices. Congress sets price targets for each of the program commodity crops, and when prices drop below these targets, producers receive a government payment. This program offers incentives that often reduce profitability and drive up taxpayer costs, even at times when farmers don't need the help. In order to moderate supply and price fluctuations, the government offers another type of farm subsidy: market loans, where Congress sets a minimum loan rate for each program commodity crop. Farmers are then able to take out a farm loan from the government using their crop as collateral. After harvest, the farmer can sell this product whenever he chooses. If he sells at a high price, he can repay the loan with cash. If, however, he decides to sell his crop later at a lower price, he is not required to repay the rest of the loan. The last type of farm subsidy program is a disaster payment, which ensures that a disaster doesn't cause a farmer's revenue to fall below the target level. Many people are begging the question of what effect these payments have had, if any. Americans usually assume we need farm subsidies to help small family farms and keep our community stable. But once we dig deeper, we'll find that both are misconceptions. According to www.downsizinggov.org, policymakers love to discuss the benefits for the small farmer, but in all reality, the bulk of farm subsidies goes to the largest farmers. For example, a 2010 Department of Agriculture study found that 40% of subsidies go directly to the largest 6% of growers. Even if these subsidies do go to small farmers, they don't necessarily benefit because many of these farmers don't own the land they farm. And unfortunately, the small farmers trying to expand, farm subsidies also drive up land prices and rents, making it harder for them to do so. In most industries, market prices balance supply and demand, and entrepreneurs innovate to provide better products at lower prices. All of these market mechanisms are non-existent in government-controlled ag markets, which result in overproduction, overuse of farmland, and land price inflation. As a result, federal ag policies produce substantial deadweight losses and reduce incomes. Like most federal subsidy programs, farm programs are subject to inefficiencies and receipt frauds. According to an article written by Benjamin Powell for Investors Business Daily, the Government of Accountability Office found that As much as $500 million in farm subsidies are paid improperly each year because Congress and the USDA distribute payments for farm emergencies carelessly. For example, disaster payments often go to farmers who have no need for them. According to nationalreview.com, perhaps the biggest scandal in regard to farm subsidies is that congressional agricultural committees are loaded with members who are active farmers and farmland owners. These members have a direct financial stake whether Congress votes to increase subsidies, which is an obvious conflict of interest. Now that we have dug deep to see what the mess is in these policies, let's continue by weeding out the bad policies and planting some new ones. According to heritage.com, in order to reduce government dependence, overproduction, and land price and food inflation, and fraud caused by farm subsidies, the U.S. should begin to cut spending on subsidy programs by reducing the income eligibility cap for each farm subsidy, which recipients receive $750,000 to $450,000 when the Food Conservation and Energy Act of 2008 is reauthorized. By reducing the income eligibility cap, one benefit for consumers is lowering food prices. The U.S. market would be open to other countries because the largest farms would produce an efficient level of output rather than current overproduction, which provided little incentive for the global trade of agricultural commodities in which they have a comparative advantage and to freely trade across borders would help lower food prices. It would also force bigger farms to provide for themselves, helping small farms become more competitive, which will make the entire market more efficient. Another solution to the agricultural subsidy issue would be to end direct payments to farmers entirely. This would help end fraud and would significantly boost global welfare because trade across borders would be determined by only supply and demand. As you can see, farm subsidies aren't the true cream of the crop that congressional agricultural committees portray them to be. They not only fail to accomplish their purposes, but also can cause many other problems along the way. By reducing the income eligibility cap and ending direct payments, we will be able to help small farmers get back on their feet and stop congressional agricultural committees and large farm corporations from farming the systems.